Hello everybody and welcome. We're here finally for the Singapore Grand Prix and I couldn't be more pleased to bring this to you today. It should be an absolute stormer. We had the sprint yesterday afternoon in wet conditions here. It was a very muggy day and the driving was a little subpar from some people, but we did get through it, and after 7 minutes and 41 seconds, Rito was our winner yesterday, taking home 6 points for him and BFX. Grandy came second. He was pretty close to winning, got held back in the mid part of the sprint, and Andres was also on the sprint podium for the WTEC team. Kubo, Urist and Bluebell all scored points as well. This little team velocity cluster there. Rito currently sits on provisional pole position. We'll have to see how the drivers can get along. It's a long lap time here. There's some straights, there's some parts where you really need the grip going through the corners, especially when the tyres start to get more worn, so it should be absolutely fascinating seeing how it goes. We'll have a look at the upgrades coming into this, which should be really interesting. BAV have won the Constructors' Championship. That was confirmed in Sepang last race with 2 Grand Prix and a sprint still to go, but very much all on for the rest of the positions in the Constructors, including relegation, with the KRT currently needing 4 more points as it stands to not go down to Challenger League Virtual next season. In terms of team upgrades, it was speed and acceleration for BFX, speed and grip for VLO, speed for WTEC, acceleration for BAV, then speed for Porsche, speed for ThunderX, speed and turbo for SFR, grip for FVR, and finally some speed and grip for FUR. Really interesting. Rito currently still on provisional pole. Grandy second. Can he lock out 2 and 3 for ThunderX? We'll have to see how it goes. We're at the end of the qualifying session now. What's it going to be? Grandy beats the time and he does go to pole position here. Sobel will start alongside him on the front row of the grid. That is really unexpected. Sobel, the man who didn't score any points in the sprint yesterday, struggled for the BFX team. With no tokens, he's lining up second on the grid. Grandy takes pole just as it was yesterday. Rito will start third and pit crew fourth. ThunderX and BFX, the X teams, locking out the front 4 positions there. Jake will start best of the rest in 5th. His teammate Urist in 7th. BAV, no tokens just like BFX, but really struggling in that qualifying session, starting a good few tenths behind the BFX cars, who finally take the crown of the fastest car this season. Bluebell Boy starts in between the BAVs. He'll be in 6th position. Then it's Hetmenica and Julo 8th and 9th, and Andres, our podium sitter in the sprint yesterday, starts 10th for the WTEC team. And he will start 11th, Kamikaze in 12th ahead of Kubo, and then Vladinator. Jiruni with FVR running their special livery this weekend. Apple Amazing with Nuri running their special livery this weekend. Then it's Spuda, Goose, and Andy, and Kado, our new man, unfortunately qualifying last place on the grid for him. It's also a special livery for the final 2 races. BAV, British team. It's in the name and it's in the factory that they've taken the trophy back to. It's now in the livery as well. They've got the Union Jack going for the final 2 races as we see who can wrap up the championship. Speaking of the championship, the drivers' standings for you after the sprint yesterday. So they've taken into extra consideration Urist scoring 2 points with a 5th place finish and Jake not scoring any with a 9th place finish. That means if Urist wins the Grand Prix or otherwise outscores Jake by 21 points or more, he is your double drivers champion. Season 1, he won it in the final race. Season 3, he has the potential to win it this race, but it would need a lot of bad luck for Jake, and it would be very dramatic. Sobel still technically in contention to win the title. He will need 2 wins and 2 fastest laps, and hope that Urist fails to score any points whatsoever. Ambitious, but it could happen. He comes into this in the title fight, but any drivers below him don't. Rito moves up to 5th place in our little Polish 4-5-6, overtaking Julo with 6 points from the sprint victory yesterday. It's very tight below that. Spuda and Bluebell, then a gap back to the Dutchies, Hetmenica and Andres. Anti-tied with Goose at the moment, then it's Jiruni and Vladinator, and then the ThunderXs a bit back, and finally the relegation strugglers. Moving on to the team standings, Urist 2 points yesterday, take BAV onto the big 300 points, which no team has ever hit before in Sunday League Virtual, and they're on that square right now, so really, really good for them. BFX in second place, the championship there already decided. What we're really looking at is the midfield fight for positions, and primarily as well, the final slots here. If Fuerza somehow score, I believe it would have to be quite a lot of points, but it's something like 23 points or more, then they will be able to say that they are safe for this season. And Nuri Racing Team aren't, but that is unlikely. Right, token usage. We'll have a look at that quickly. Not many using tokens today. Rito using 2, gets out qualified by his teammate using none. And neither of the VLOs. Spuda doesn't, but Andres does. Andres starts in 10th place, Spuda down the order. Aptly using 4, he'll start in somewhere in the middle back. It's 16th place for him. And then it's also Grandy using 4 and Pit Crew using 2, hence why we see those two doing so well. Pole position and 4th place for the Thunder X team, who have struggled all season long. They'd love to finish with a bang here, and with not many high tier drivers using tokens, great opportunity for it. Neither SFR, neither FVR, and Kamikaze using 4. That is all for now, and we are ready for the penultimate race of the Sunday League Virtual season. We're lined up here, Grandy on pole. We're underway in Singapore. Sobel looks to get a good start there. He moves his way past Grandy into turn 2. He gets the move done there. Rito closing in behind as well. Can he use a bit of boost? Grandy tries to outboost him. He's going to have a go at Sobel. They're 3 wide nearly into the left-hander. The BFXs are 1 and 2. And Jake's made his way up to 4th position. Can he turn that into 3rd? Looks like he will through the left-hander. And Pit Crew through as well, Grandy. It's a bit of war. Kubo and Andres also caught there. Sobel and Rito side by side. The teammates in the BFX cars are really going at it on lap 1 here in Singapore. We'll unobscure the right hand side of the screen for you there. Grandy and Pit Crew still fighting it out. Grandy has lost a few positions off the start. He's warded off Jake though for the time being, who's dropped back into 5th position. Bluebell and Anti side by side. Anti with a good start there as well. Urist in 8th, and it's Julo and Andres Medica looking for a move, and he does get through on his compatriot Jake, and Anti going down the straight. Anti gets a really good run in and is just going to take the corner a lot cleaner. Certainly a lot cleaner than we saw it yesterday. Hits the wall, the inside barrier, just clips it there, and the BFX is currently running 1 and 2. We'll put the tokens just back up for a second. Maybe not, as we see them going, fighting Rito up the inside. He's on the hards, but he's got 2 more tokens, and he does go into the lead of the race. He's using 2. It's Andres using 2, Aptly using 4. Grandy 4 and Pit Crew 2. Sobel goes back through, and that's Commie using 4 as well. So Anti's starts completely of his own merit, making up those positions from the grid slot. Grandy and Pit Crew still going at it. The teams fighting here. BFX looking for their first 1-2 since Interlagos last season. Jake looking for a potential move here. It would also be their first win since round 2 of this season in Brest. Bluebell 6th currently. Hetmenica just chasing him down behind. We'll have to see which one of those two can remain triumphant. There's a big pack back here. Apple Amazing and Urist fighting. Urist, our championship contender, down in 15th place. He started on the hards, and he's one of only a few drivers to do so. We'll have to see, can he make it back later into the race. He most likely will, but he's 15th for the time being. It's going to have to be a lot of overtaking for the British aerial virtual driver. The FVRs in their shiny silver special livery. Look at that. It's gorgeous under the lights as Jaruni tries to make it count. Can he go past his teammate around the outside, across the Anderson Bridge, and he gets thwacked into the wall there. That is quite a scrap between those drivers, Kado and Hanandi. Then Rito still leads us away, but Sobel switches to the outside just as Rito gets a little bit of wheel spin there, and Rito does get past, now gets back past Sobel, but that was a fantastic overtaking manoeuvre from the Dutchman in the BFX. Rito has not won any races this season if you don't count the sprint yesterday. Sobel won the opening 2 rounds, but since then just seems to have faltered a little. Rito has had a very consistent season, even without any podiums in Grand Prix racing. Sobel right up the back of his teammate. He's itching to get through, and he finally does, into the double left-hander to end off the lap. Pit Crew still running in 3rd. He's had the better start despite his teammate running 2 extra tokens, but Thunder X will be delighted with a 2-4 here. Currently, they haven't won since the 2nd ever race of Sunday League Virtual. That was in Brest as well. So both of these teams have that in common, just 2 seasons apart. Jake looking to fend off Bluebell for the time being. Bluebell Boy, the owner of the team that's currently running 1 and 2, so he'll be chuffed to bits with that. Hetmenica in 7th at the moment. It's been a great start here in Singapore, one of the most picturesque tracks you can imagine having on a Sunday League Virtual calendar, and we're so happy to have it this season. Apple Amazing running in 10th place. This could be crucial points. Not many drivers spending tokens. We'll pull it up just one more time for you. As we see Hetmenica come into the pit lane, it is only Rito, Andrews, Apley, Grandy, Pit Crew, and Commie. 6 drivers using tokens. Of those, Apley on 4, Grandy on 4, Commie on 4, Rito, Andrews, and Pit Crew on 2. Those are your only ones to look out for. Andrews and Apley having a great scrap here. Apley, half Dutch, some call him. Belarusian racer at heart, though, and he goes all the way around the outside of the left-hander, and that is going to cost him a bit of time being slammed to the wall that hard. Bluebell, meanwhile, still looking to try and get through on Jake, and he does go through into the pit lane. Also into the pits has been Sobel, who's currently, where is he? 5th place at the minute. He's just come out on fresh medium tyres, and the championship contender and the man who is running no tokens today, but still looking to hunt for the title. This would be a great chance to get back through. Eurus, his teammate, though, is back up into 10th place. It was a bad start for him initially, but he's yet to pit. We'll have to see how he can do, but everyone around him seems to have pitted. He's still got a little bit of time left in those hards. It's been a great start here and complete shake-up of what you'd normally expect. The BAVs not on the podium. The only race where they didn't finish on the podium this season was Mugello, where it was Goose, followed by, I think it was Anti close behind him. So it really interesting there. Sobel, 4th place. Jake, 5th. Apley up into 6th place. He's yet to stop, and he's just set a PB lap time, ladies and gents. He's not done yet, and that is a gorgeous, dark, evil KRT that they're running for this race. Bluebell right up to the back of him. We can see on the onboard here. Can Bluebell try and move into the right-hander? Apley just doesn't have the grip to fight it. Can Heck get the better run down the straight? Apley gets a really nice run on Bluebell, in fact. Can he go to the outside? No, gets squeezed to the inside, and he's very close, but Heck still sandwiched right up behind him. We'll have to see how those two go. Meanwhile, Pit Crew is into the pit lane to greet his own Pit Crew, and Apley tries to go through the double right-hander there and does get the move done, then slides into the pit lane in all the style you could possibly want. He got the overtake back done, and now he's got into the pit for a fresh set of rubber. Grandy, 4th place, he's just come into the pit lane. I need to stop saying pit so much. Bluebell is right behind him. He's stopped a few laps ago, so Grandy has significantly fresher tyres. He'll be happy to have the clean air at the moment and not be stuck behind anyone. Pit Crew has slightly older medium compound tyres. He came in, I think it was on the same lap, maybe a lap earlier than Grandy. And Rito is in now. Where will he emerge? Can he get got by the BFX cars? He had, by the THX cars. He had such a good start on the hard compound tyre that the answer is no. He's well clear, and the BFXs with the best car are really making this count. Can they take the first 1-2 not from BAV this season? BAV took a couple 1-2s in Jamosh, in Hungaroring. I think they took a 1-2 with Julo on the podium there, but you know, they could really shake things up here, and it's a little bit of a shame that the Constructors' Championship was decided so early with Rito's lack of podiums up to this point. He could take a podium, maybe even a win here. We've had greater upsets like Eurus using tokens, his teammate not using tokens. And come the end of the Polish Grand Prix, which one of those two was it that crossed the line first? Jake Brad, with not a single token, won the race. So it was really interesting there. First, and you know, to this point, still the latest driver to have won a Grand Prix without using any tokens. Pit Crew has his teammate Grandy behind him. We might see a little bit of team orders, but the BFX is getting close as well, so we could get some really good team scrapping. Bluebell doesn't have his teammate that close behind him. Kubo currently running in 11th place. He's fending off Eurus at the moment, who has now come into the pit lane. Did that a few laps ago, and he is stuck behind Kubo, who has a bit older softs than he does, but not so much that he'll have an easy pass lined up from here. unless Kubo comes into the pit lane, which he very much does. Hetmanica also in ahead. Will he get out just ahead of Eurus? He will. Can he hold up Eurus coming to turn 2? Eurus has to take a wider line, potentially try and angle him up a little bit, and looks like we've got some battling going on for 3rd place, but just before that, Eurus does get through on Het. Grandy, Pit Crew, and Caddo, the lapped car in this mix, and that's going to be difficult. Pit Crew on the mediums has been overtaken by his teammate who stopped for softs, fresher, softer tyres. They drag race down the straight into turn 1. This is brilliant wheel-to-wheel racing. When you've got a car that has the exact same speed like as the inherent stats, you get great side-by-side action down the straight rather than just one car pulling way ahead of the other. And Grandy still manages to hold his teammate off, and Pit Crew is in 4th place. They want to limit the battling, but really with the BFXs a few seconds ahead now, how much is that really going to matter come the end of the race? Rito has much fresher mediums than Sobo should be in this lap, and he is just going to file into that pit lane. The beautiful double left-hander. Grandy and Pit Crew will come through, take 2nd and 3rd place as it stands, but they'll need some bad luck coming Sobo's way for them to be able to stick it with a double THX podium, something that has not happened ever in Sunday League Virtual. Team with not that much success, and they're really the sort of the black sheep this season. They've not had that much success. They've been struggling and not you know, worried about relegation. Both drivers have in surplus of 20 points already this season, and the bottom teams have, you know, single digits, so they're fine in that regard, but they've not looked at all competitive with the midfield teams and have, you know, rarely looked like they're going to score major points. Podium, no, none coming their way so far this season actually. Grandy's 2nd place in the sprint, the only real indication of that. Grandy is into the pits. Jake, who's in 5th place still, is in the pits as well. Not quite the dominant force that BAV once was. Let's see how that affects the championship fight coming to the end of the season. Jake, simply by scoring some points this race, can rule Sobel out. Also, if Sobel doesn't win with the fastest lap, that also works. But Bluebell is behind Jake. He's on older but softer tyres. Let's see how these two fight it out over 5th and 6th place. Two very well respected members of the SLV community. Bluebell, though, told he's not allowed to drive for VLO next season. He might be trying to poach Jake's teammates. They've already confirmed at BAV that they're not... Ooh, Jake with a great move there. They're not looking to keep Eurus on for next season, which is an incredible statement to make when you're the owner of the team and you're an owner driver who's involved in a championship fight, as we see Bluebell get back through with some of the help of the back markers. Sobel and Pit Crew also battling there. It's an amazing statement to have when you've wrapped up the team's championship, and a few days after that you've gone, well, I don't really want to stick him around for next season, to be totally honest. And it is, from what I've heard, Jake's move. Eurus didn't have much of a say in that, and they're still fighting it over the driver's title, the most prestigious prize. Everyone loves winning the Constructors' Championship, but, you know, the drivers, I mean, being the best driver in a really good car across the season, that is what really counts in this sport, and Jake or Eurus could both very much do it. We've seen it swings and roundabouts. Eurus was great in the sprint. He outpaced Jake very much so. But here, he's not running in the points, and Jake's up in 6th place currently, so that will be a massive swing back in Jake's favour. Of course, you get 8 points for 6th place. If things end as they stand here, Jake takes the lead of the championship by 2 points with 1 race left, so it'll essentially be all or nothing. We see Pit Crew come in, Grandy goes back through, and who will maybe pit Pit Crew out of the pit lane? That was a lot of that sound. Bluebell won't. He'll still run in 5th place, so this battle is still ongoing. 5th and 6th, Bluebell versus Jake. Bluebell on the older tyres. Remember, aptly running in 7th. This is big, but we're halfway through the race currently. He still does need to make his 2nd stop. He hasn't done that yet. He does have a nice gap back to Het, though. If he has a tidy in lap here, you just never know. We'll bring up the constructors' standings just for the time being. You can see them here. If Nuri can take 8th place or higher, they put themselves back in the safe zone with 1 race left. I mean, that would be quite incredible. It really would. But we could see a big haul of points coming their way, as it has been announced the final race of the season, as well as being tokenless like it always is, will of course be a reversed grid. So we should expect some pretty big chaos. Nandi and Kamikaze, the 2 drivers in the whole competition, have not scored any points so far this season will be starting on the front row as it stands, unless Commie's tokens can push him up, but he's not had any good luck with that so far. Het and Andries are fighting it out currently. This is 8th and 9th position, and Hanandi there blocking off Kubo a little bit. It gets squeezed into a wall. Kado is still on Hanandi. That's the fight over 19th position, so interesting to see that. Apple Amazing still not into the pit lane, and Bluebell has closed up to the back. I think Bluebell must have just come in as well. Is that right? Yeah, Appley's in. He'll come out around Andries. He'll take 8th place, but 9th would not be good. This is their last guarantee. This is their last advantage that they have over Fuerza Roja that they know of, because obviously next race with reverse grid, both teams could sink out of the points. We saw G4, remember? It started on the front row of the grid in Interlagos with no tokens. I mean, that was unbelievable. In the car that got relegated, no less. He started P2. I mean, that's the field was tighter, of course, but that's crazy to think about. He started 2nd place, only behind, I think it was Rito who took pole. Mental. Right, Apley on the softs, gets through on Andries, and this is 7th place. This is turning into a very nice race for the Nuri racing team. They got racing in the name, they got racing in the blood. Apley finished 14th in the sprint yesterday. No luck from there, but the club of point scorers, you know, top 6 it is for that, and realistically he'd need to be on the sprint podium to actually make the points there count and get back ahead of Fuerza Roja. We've got Jake into the pit lane at the moment. He's just come out of it. He's still ahead of Bluebell. Bluebell on the older tyres, went for the undercut. It's not really worked. Sobel and Rito are fighting it out. Meanwhile, Grandi is in the lead of the race. He's yet to make a 3rd stop. Sobel has, Rito has not. He is on, ooh, hello, pit crew battling there. And he's into the pit lane now. So just as he's looking feisty with the BFXs, he's just going to let them run by themselves pretty much. Sobel is on the fresh, soft tyres. Rito's on aging hard. He's on an alternate strategy, so pit crew should get an undercut for the time being on those fresh softs, just a little bit fresher than Sobel's, probably a lap or two there in that. I think it might just be a lap. Sobel to the outside of Fernandi. Kari's lapping at the moment. He's going to close in on Grandi. Any rain right now will be very well timed for the Thunder X team, who have been fighting it out over the podium positions all race long with BFX. Can Sobel get through? Yes, he does. It's a great overtaking opportunity into that final double left-hander, and he zooms away down the straight. Grandi on the old hards does not have the pace for that at the moment. Rito's still looking good on his hards, actually. Pit crew has closed in, though. The gap was a few seconds before pit crew. The gap was a few seconds after pit crew came out of the lane, and now it was 3 seconds. It's now 4. It's sort of jumping around a little, but Rito on fresher tyres, I believe. Yeah, fresher hards than Grandi, although not in an entirely dissimilar position to him. They'll both be in relatively soon. I reckon Grandi this lap and Rito maybe next or 2 laps time. Grandi stays out. Interesting. Sobel is in the lead of the race, and it wouldn't be a huge surprise to see him win it, but his teammate is spending 2 tokens, so could it be the strategy just messing things up for Rito at the moment? Remember him and Andries and pit crew spending 2 tokens. Pit crew doing very well, fighting for a podium with just 2 tokens in that car. And it's Grandi, Grandi Apley and Commie spending 4, and of those, 2 of those are relegation fighting teams. So Grandi has a really nice shot here. They've timed their race very well. I think nobody really has any tokens left, to be totally honest. We'll see how this goes. Grandi has been passed by Rito. He's now into the pits. He'll come out behind his teammate, who's done a nice little undercut there, but has taken a bit of the life out of those softs already. Still in relatively good nick, but Sobel, who's on slightly older soft compound tyres, still running well. Rito will be in pretty soon. It'll be really interesting to see how this shakes up come the end of the race. We've got just 11 laps to go here in Singapore, and it's been a great fight between 2 teams over the podium positions. Jake, the supporting role, Bluebell and Apley both into the pit lane. Will Andries come through and spoil the party for Apley? Amazing as he comes through the slow hairpin of turn 2. Ooh, no, he doesn't, and Apley stays in 7th place. This is turning into an excellent race for the Nuri Racing driver, but Andries will still want every point that he can get. He's fighting deep in the midfield, both in the Constructors and Drivers Championships. He's literally P10 at the moment. He's got a 2nd place to his name. That was the last race. I know, was it? No, it might not have been. It's got, or it might have been Brest. That's right. He finished just behind Sobel. So only one podium for him this season. It's not going to be another today, I don't reckon. But here we go. Second place, Rito. Currently, pit crew, maybe. We'll have to see how he could do on these softs that are already sort of halfway through their lifespan. But he's going very, very fast against the man who is also spending 2 tokens today in a significantly better car. Pit crew comes through to overtake Sobel while Sobel's in the pits. And Rito is on very old hards. Could this give pit crew the lead of the race on lap 29 of the Singapore Grand Prix? It's very possible if he could string together a few good corners. He's right up to the back of the pole in first of the moment. Is he going to try it into the sharp left-hander over the Anderson Bridge? He gets thwacked into the wall. They're side by side, and that's all helped Sobel catch up. That might have been a deliberate ploy by Rito. He's going to have to let his teammate through now because he's on very old hard compound tyres, doesn't want to be backing him up too much. Pit crew goes through into the pits, as does Rito, and pit crew, with the strategy that he's been on, is now ahead of Rito. We'll see how the stops are. Pit crew just still ahead of him as they leave the lane. Sobel looking in the prime seat to be winning this, and Rito spending 2 tokens is currently struggling in the fastest car to beat pit crew spending 2 tokens. He uses bits of boost, just dabs it on there to try and get through on the Brazilian man running in 4th. All the while, Grandi is still in 2nd. He's still on pretty good condition medium, so don't rule him out of anything. All 4 of these drivers could win this race. Sobel up to a lot of traffic at the moment. He's lapping Het and Urist, who are running in 10th and 11th position. Urist into the pit lane. We'll keep an eye on how he's doing when we can. It's Rito overtaking his 2 compatriots on the grid. There was a 3-pole stack there, and they might just be obliged to hold up the Brazilian pit crew, but he uses a bit of boost and he'll get through them very nicely and easily as they go into that middle sector of the track. Anything possible here. Pit crew right up to the back. He's got the medium compound tyres. He goes down the inside and clunks the wall at the apex, and that's not good from at all. Meanwhile, Grandi and Sobel fighting it out there. Grandi has gotten through into the lead, I believe it was. They were sort of very nip and tuck there. It's fights up and down here. Kubo has unlapped himself from Rito, and that's allowed pit crew to both set a fastest personal lap time and overtake the Polish driver. Sobel and Grandi still fighting it out here side by side. They go into the chicanes. Can Grandi keep this advantage coming out of it? We've got just 7 laps here, 6.5. Sobel up the inside into the sharp left-hander, and on the hard compound tyres, moves himself back into the lead. Grandi is not going to be giving this one up, but he is on older tyres. If he makes a stop now for softs, that will be very strategically convenient, but he's not. He's gone back into the lead, and he'll have a really difficult time keeping this status quo. He'll need to be in this lap for some soft compound tyres. That is his only chance of still winning the Grand Prix. Sobel, 2nd place for him at the moment. It's pit crew who's broken free of Rito. Now Rito on those softs, pit crew on the fresher mediums has just had the upper hand on him in the 2nd phase of this race. We'll check a little bit down the order in a second. We've got Grandi and Sobel still fighting it out as they try and lap Vladinator. Sobel just being distanced a little bit back from here. He's not been able to lap him too cleanly. Vladinator doesn't have to get out of the way. There's no obligation for him to do so. Meanwhile, Urist running in 11th place, being lapped by Rito. Currently, voice crack there. Outside of the points, this would be huge. And Jake running in 5th would swing the championship 4 points back in his favour, as we have just one race left. And remember, these 2 are pretty much confirmed to be starting. I mean, are literally confirmed to be starting as the final 2 on the grid for tomorrow. The man who will be starting right ahead of them in 18th place has just overtaken Grandi to take the lead of the race back, but pit crew is so close behind his teammate. Pit crew could go on to win the Singapore Grand Prix. We've had so many drivers contesting for it. Grandi's into the lane. 4 laps to go, and he's going to slap on the softs. This is his last hurrah, his last chance, his last dance at a podium here. Is he going to lose position to Rito on pit exit? No, he's not. Rito has had a disaster of a race. Pit crew on the mediums. I'm going to compose myself because there is still 4 laps here, and anything can happen in Singapore, just about anything. Sobel's on the hards, pit crew's on exactly the same wear mediums, but they are going to be going off slightly faster than the hards. They've had a similar strategy up to this point. And we'll have to see if Pit Crew can just take that final bit of charge. 3 laps remaining as Sobel comes over the line to start it. Hernandi running in last place is going to be the next lap car on the agenda, and Pit Crew is within touching distance of his first ever race win in Sunday League Virtual, the 31st race of the competition, and ThunderX have not won a race since race 2 in Brest. This would be so huge for the team to take not just a win but a double podium, but it looks to be slightly slipping away. Grandy needs to make up a lot of time on those softs, but it is the end of the race nearing here. Just 2 laps to go and a couple corners. The clouds are coming. We've had no rain all race long, and Sobel now has a second gap. Could this be his 3rd race win of the season, in keeping with the tradition set last season by Kubo of a man who did not win the Drivers' Championship, came 3rd in it in fact, and did not win the Constructors either, but still won 3 races in the season. It's entirely plausible. Sobel looking very good. There's a very similar gap from Sobel to Pit Crew to Grandy behind, who's made up all this time, but he doesn't have long left. He only has about 3 seconds to make up for that race lead though. Pit Crew is stuck behind Jaruni and Anti. They are not helping his cause out at the moment. Anti's into the pits. Sobel leads us onto the final lap of the Singapore Grand Prix. He has 2 seconds, but very worn hard. Grandy is right up behind his teammate, who needs to let him through here, and Pit Crew will let him through. Grandy boosts his way down the straight. Can Grandy take his 3rd win of his Sunday League Virtual career? He has 1 second to make up and less than 1 lap to do so. Sobel is still in the lead. The gap is 9 tenths. Gets a poor exit there. Grandy closes just 6 tenths into the next right-hander. This final sector will be absolutely crucial. Grandy right behind him now. 38 of 38 laps run, and Granny in the final corner of the race will win the Singapore Grand Prix. Sobel comes home to finish 2nd, and it's 2 ThunderX's on the podium. Pit Crew in 3rd. Rito, spending 2 tokens a day, will take just 4th position. He is absolutely cursed from any podium this season. Bluebell will take 5th place, a very solid race for him. Jake in 6th, huge championship implications there as well. He takes back control if Eurus can't score a point. Andres will take 7th. Apple amazing moves Nuri Racing Team back into the safe zone in the Constructors' Championship. 8 points, 8th place. 4th points is enough for them to move on to 6 points of the championship, and Anti will take 9th. Will Eurus hold on from Hetmanica to take 10th place? Yes, he will. Jake's gap coming into the final race is just a single point. Bluebell and Jake, and this is the 2nd race running that we've had this, have tied for the fastest lap. It's been a couple boring races in Sunday League Virtual. It really has. And this has made up for it and plenty more. Grandy wins the Singapore Grand Prix in just under 25 minutes for ThunderX. Sobel, by only 6/10 of a second, will come home 2nd place. Pit Crew in 3rd. Rito take 4th. Bluebell and Jake 5th and 6th tie the fastest lap. That fastest lap point will be given to whoever set the lap time earlier, and that could have championship implications if Jake does or doesn't get that point. So watch out for that in the results. Andres will finish 7th for WTech. Apple amazing in the dark. Nuri will take 8th place. Anti in 9th, and Eurist, it's a blow for him in the championship. He is now 1 or 2 points behind Jake in the standings, so really, really bad for him. But obviously it's all to play for in the final race. They'll be starting from the final row of the grid. At Menica and Chilo, Porsche's 11th and 12th. There's Kubo and Kamikaze, who has not scored points in any of the tokened races this season, nor did Hernandi, who's in 20th place. Spuda, Jaruni, Vladinator, Goose and Kado in between them. Words can't describe that Singapore Grand Prix. 2 teams absolutely slugging it out, and shocks up and down. And there's no way I can put it into words properly to justify it. You just have to enjoy watching it. We've got 1 race left in the season before a very nice, long, relaxing off-season afterwards. As we get ready for Season 4 of Sunday League Virtual, shake-ups. No big regulation change, but maybe some things coming the way of some of the best performing teams. ThunderX, what an underdog story this has been for them. That's all for now. We'll see you in Interlagos for the season finale, the championship decider. But until then, bye-bye.